Well, the national nightmare that is the New York Giants continues to rage on, and in the ultimate parity-driven sports entity, the National Football League, where the New Orleans Saints are 2-0 on an eye-popping 62 points of differential after just 2 weeks, the staple of ass that is the Giants just continues to draw on a pace, humiliating the #1 market in the United States of America in what has been a stunning decade-plus long run of futility. And speaking of New York, the only team in the last decade that has a worse cumulative record than the Giants and the Jets is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Luckily though, it does look like things are finally turning around in Jacksonville. Because of course they aren't, but at least they didn't sign some massively overrated loser to an exorbitant record-breaking contract with a ton of guaranteed money. Okay, well, damn. There are a lot of parallels here to the Jags, who literally just inked alleged generational quarterback Trevor Lawrence to an astonishing 5-year, $275 million extension with $142 million in guarantees, all for an 0-2 start to the season. But damn it, this video is about Daniel Jones, so back on track. Yes, the New York Giants. Since winning their last Super Bowl all the way back in 2011, the Giants have had just 3 total winning seasons in the last 13 years and made the playoffs only twice, producing a record of 76, 120, and 1, which is good for a winning percentage of just 38%. And since that Super Bowl in 2011, the Giants have won just a single playoff game. And frankly, that one playoff win might have been far more costly than any of the abysmal seasons that they have had to suffer through. The year was 2022, and it was head coach Brian Daboll's first season in that capacity, leading the Giants to a 9-7-1 record and the 6th seed in the NFC playoffs. Daboll, for his efforts that season, won Coach of the Year and beat the Vikings in the wildcard round before getting absolutely boat raced 38-7 by the Philadelphia Eagles in the divisional playoffs. That mirage of a season and playoff win, however, prompted the organization to, for some reason, extend quarterback Daniel Jones to a 4-year, $160 million contract extension in that offseason. And oh sure, in light of some other preposterous contracts which have been floated around the league to some absolute bums, like the aforementioned $275 million to Trevor Lawrence, the $212 million to Tua, and the $260 million contract to Lamar Jackson, you might be thinking to yourself, $160 million for Daniel Jones seems kind of reasonable. Yeah, you'd be wrong if that's what you were thinking. $40 million annually for a guy who is now in his 6th season as a starter at the age of 27 and has a cumulative win-loss record of 22-38, winning barely 35% of his games. A guy who has cracked 3,000 yards just 2 times in those 6 seasons, while never remotely sniffing the 4,000-yard mark, and has gone over 20 touchdown passes only 1 time so far, which was unbelievably his rookie season. In 61 career starts, Danny Pennies is averaging a laughable 211 passing yards per game. Essentially in what could be perceived as his career year so far in 2022, the season where the Giants won that playoff game, which prompted the organization to give him the aforementioned $160 million contract. Jones played in all 16 games for the Giants, passing for 3,205 yards and 15 touchdowns. And sure, those are good-looking numbers if the year were 1999. but they are laughable in today's supercharged era of diminished defense and elevated passing attempts, where Tom Brady threw for 5,300 yards and 43 touchdowns at 44 years of age, where rookies like Justin Herbert, who threw for 4,300 yards and 31 touchdowns in his first season, or CJ Stroud, who threw for 4,100 yards and 23 touchdowns a year ago in his inaugural campaign, are lighting it up right from the start. This scrub drops 3,200 yards and 15 touchdowns in his marquee season, and the insane Giants front office inks him to a $140 million contract over 4 seasons. And since signing that deal now 2 years ago, Jones has played in just 8 games, with New York going 1-7 over that span of time, and he has thrown a total of just 4 touchdowns as compared to 8 interceptions. In fact, 3 of those interceptions have been returned for a touchdown by the opposing defense. So since signing a deal that earns him $40 million annually, Jones has won 1 game and thrown nearly as many touchdowns to the other team than to his own. And yes, while you can challenge the overall supporting cast the Giants have to offer, Tyrod Taylor was 2-3 last year in 5 games while filling in for an injured Jones, while Tommy DeVito went 3-3. And for a guy in Danny Pennies, who should be required to collect his weekly checks in a ski mask, there seems to be no end in sight, with 2 years still remaining on that extension. Who knows when or if this national nightmare will ever end in New York. But while we have seen a plethora of high-profile busts and overpaid players at the quarterback position throughout the course of NFL history, no player has ever duped an organization into giving this level of cash with this immense track record of failures already on his resume. So you can safely bet that a pretty good amount of people are going to lose their jobs at the end of what promises to be just another in a string of pathetic seasons for this dumpster fire of a franchise.